Hello and welcome back to my channel, You Read What? I'm Michael and I'll be reviewing If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. I really enjoyed this book. And right off the bat, if you saw my previous video, I'm going to just give it the coveted shit. My reviewing, my rating system is pretty simple. It's either trash, it's the shit, or it's lit. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I'll be reviewing this book and also the adaptation by Barry Jenkins and going over the film and also the sound of the book. So let's go ahead and get into the business. The book itself opens up with Tish and Fonnie. Tish is going to visit Fonnie in jail and tell him that she's pregnant. Now, Fonnie has been wrongly accused of rape. This story takes place in the early 1970s in New York City when racial issues were at the highest. And James Baldwin did a great job at portraying the authenticity of that time, of like how harsh and how, just awful it was to be black in America at that time, and just, the corruption of the police and just the complete judicial system as a whole. It was just awful for black people during that time frame. But before I go on a tangent, let me just go ahead and get into the review as a whole. So as I stated before, Tish is visiting Fonnie in jail. She lets him know that she's pregnant, and he's happy but also extremely sad. He wants them to be married. He wants for this, for everything to happen the right way. And it can't happen because, he's in jail, but he is a good man. So let's go ahead and just give you a quick little synopsis. I won't spoil everything, and I'm glad that I read the book before I saw the movie. It's just a great book. But let me get into the story. So after she tells him that she's pregnant, then, she makes her journey home. She takes the bus instead of the train so she could have some time to think. And then when she's on that journey, she finally gets home and she meets her mother, Sharon, and she's just like, trying to get the words out to tell her mom that she's pregnant. But her mom, knowing who she is and her daughters and they're having a close relationship, she kind of figures out that she's pregnant. She told her to just, hey, just go lay down and get ready for supper. So then the family comes in for supper and they're all, just having a good time. And then Sharon, the mother, reveals to Ernestine and to her father that she's pregnant and that they're going to have a sacramental drink. And so everyone gets a little bit of the wine and then we get to drink. And then Ernestine suggests that she would love to see the look on the Hunt's face. And that's Alonzo family, the Hunts. And they get the bright idea to call them over. So they call them over, and then that's when all the shit happens. So they call them over, and then Tish tells the family that, hey, I'm having Fonnie's baby. And immediately, Frank's happy, and that's Fonnie's dad, and Joe, they're happy, they're laughing. He's like, I hope it's a boy. Immediately, the haters arrive, and Mrs. Hunt and her daughters say, who's going to raise the baby? Tish is like, me and Fonnie are going to raise the baby. Then Mrs. Hunt is a total display, just a trash human being. She just starts spewing all these negative, disrespectful words to Tish. And then Mr. Hunt, out of nowhere, he Super Saiyans, Guile Street Fighter smacks her into oblivion. She hits the floor. I mean, it was crazy, right? So Frank and Joe Rivers, they leave. And they're just going to go get drinks. So during that quick time frame, they're all the ladies are just having a discussion, and Ernestine threatens to, to snatch out the sister's throat, and then they pretty much, that's it. The beef is on. You see the type of people that they are, and the story progresses, and then you kind of learn, through James Baldwin's foreshadowing at the very beginning, like when he portrays Tish and Fonnie at an early age, when they were children, when they went to go to church, that they're these high, holy rollers per se, right? So these high and mighty holy rollers, and they just think that they're better than everyone else, and that's just the way that they kind of portray it. She says that Fonnie's baby is a bastard. Things that you should just say about your future grandchild. She's just an awful human being. So the story progresses, and then after that we're introduced to Hayward, the lawyer. And at first it doesn't seem like he's that helpful. They just say, hey, the white boy in the story, and it's like, that's what Mr. Hunt is referring to him as, like, oh, he's not that great. He's just a white boy. All right. But after he sees all these holes through the story, then he begins to really push the envelope to try to see if he can really get Fonnie released. So the story progresses more, and then after finding out that the person that was raped, Mrs. Rogers, that accused Fonnie of rape, she's left the country. So she's left the country, and someone needs to go. Now, Ernestine can't go because she needs to get money and to take care of her sister, and she need to raise the funds to help to, the case. The only other person that's left that can go is Sharon. So, and Sharon is also, Tish's mother. So I'm kind of like fast tracking a little bit, but if you've read the book or seen the movie, everything will more or less just fall in place for you. But so she's the one that actually goes to Puerto Rico to try to get her to come back, to speak on her behalf, to speak on Fonnie, so that he can be released from jail for this, for him being wrongfully accused. So I don't want to go too deep into that aspect of the story. I'm actually just want to flip modes and then go into the movie. So the adaptation by Barry Jenkins, I thought it was done very well. Certain things I didn't like was, before I go to the things that I didn't like, matter of fact, we'll just go over the things I didn't like. I did not like the character development for most of the characters. I felt like the things that were left out by James Baldwin's story was, I wouldn't say it was like disrespectful, but for me it felt like if you didn't know the source material, and this is just me, I felt like the movie was in hyperdrive mode. It was like all these building blocks that weren't spoken about, like, oh, you see these two beautiful black people. Oh man, the colors, everything looks great, beautiful sound. Oh man, love, now he's locked up. What? Huh? Okay, like how do they know each other? And they do a brief flashback of them being in the tub together in the movie, but I would rather have wanted to see in the movie when they got into a fight, when they were little kids and his tooth got knocked out, because his tooth was never knocked out in the movie himself. Even in the scene when he gets roughed up a little bit, in the book he got fucked up. In the movie he got a couple of scratches, So that was kind of like, what? Like this book is very graphic, and not saying that the movie didn't portray it well, but there's certain things that they did really well, like the scene when he's asking her, like this line for line when he asked her, do you want what do you want to do? Do you want to go for a walk? You want to get some beer? You want some coffee? Smoke a little pot? Line for line, perfect. I mean, just beautiful. So those are the things that I didn't like. Now the things that I did like, the color and the sound and this the emotion of this movie was absolutely beautiful. Everything about it does the book justice. Even though if you just listen to the things I just said, you can throw all of that out the window. Just the adaptation and the time and care that Barry Jenkins took to make this movie, you know that he really studied the source material. And the movie is 2 hours long, so you can't put everything that's in the book in the movie. But the things that he chose to put in the movie were amazing. Now the ending is completely different, and the ending of the book is way darker. And I guess the ending for today's time is just as dark. It's just not the same. But for me, the book and the movie, both amazing. So if you haven't read this book or seen the movie, I would say do yourself some justice and read the book first, then see the movie, and also listen to the soundtrack. There's one song that they play constantly throughout the movie. Whenever two characters are talking, um, and it evokes so much emotion. And I actually looked it up. It's called Agape. It's one of my favorite songs from the soundtrack. I listen to it all the time. It's pretty emotional type of song. Really tugs on those heartstrings. But I thoroughly recommend this book and the movie and the soundtrack. So if you haven't seen this book or movie and you're thinking about it, hey, I really recommend it. So I also have all my social media in the description, and also my notes that you can find on Goodreads. And thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.